So welcome to a new guide on this channel, and on this occasion is the delay from Ableton. This is not a review, but a deep dive guide about this device. Now everything is in tiny chapters, so if you look at the description or the timeline, you can jump to a section or skip the ones you don't want. So if you like what I do, remember to like and subscribe, and if you want to buy me a coffee, you can. Just check the description. Alright, so the first thing we need to talk about, and I'm using kind of the default settings right now that we have on the delay. And if I turn it off, I'm using the analog with the very dull sound, right? Sounds very dull. And this is on purpose, and this is super mono. Now, of course, right, the first thing we need to talk about is the times right here. Whenever you get it, by default, it's going to be on 16 notes. And I'm telling you this because maybe you're just, new to Ableton, and maybe you're used to work with different delays where you have a different representation of the time right here. So this one is the ones you get by default, and it's 1/16. So just to give you an example, if I go to 1, this is going to be in subdivisions 1/16. If I go to the second one, we take the 16s, we divide it by 2, it's going to be 1/8, and so on and on and on. This is going to be dotted pretty much, and this is going to be a 1/4, and on and on. This is how it works in this mode. Now, this doesn't mean that you cannot use milliseconds. Maybe you're used to use milliseconds. So if you go out of the sync, this one's going to take you to the time mode. Now you can go from 1 millisecond all the way to 5 seconds. Which is not a lot, but it's just enough. I'm going to go back to the sync mode. So of course, this is going to be synced to whatever BPM you're using on your DAW. So if I play something, we get 1/4. Now we're going to get faster because it's 1/16, 1/8, and so on and on and on. Of course, the left channel and the right channel are going to be linked. So it means that when you make a change, everything is going to change. And since this synthesizer right now, it's super mono, the repetitions of the delay, it's super mono as well. But this doesn't mean that you cannot unlink, the left and the right. So if you click right here, it's going to unlink it. Now, right now, we are 1/4 on the left and the right, so it's super mono. But when you unsync the left and the right, the repetitions, you're going to be getting a stereo kind of spread. Since the analog, the synthesizer is right in the center, and the left we have something else, and on the right we have something else, we get a wide stereo spread. That's the idea. So of course, when we link, what the right is going to be doing is going to be following whatever you have on the left. So if I link, it's going to take you to 4/4. And this doesn't matter. If I have 16 and I link, it's going to do whatever we have on the left. Now, of course, if you go to the other mode, the time mode, and I do something like this, and you're linking, it's going to be the same for both. But you can unlink this and maybe use this mode on the right and use this mode on the left, or you can use time mode, on the right and offset the timings, and this will again give you that, a wide spread. And at the end of the day, if you link, remember this one will follow the left. So it's going to do the same thing. Now, if I take you to the other side, back to the sync, we are using 4/4 and we are doing a link. So if I play something, everything is on the same spot. We don't get this wide sound. But what you could do right here, you get is the offset. So when you offset, you're pretty much offsetting whatever value you have selected right here by some amount. And remember what happens when you offset the timings from left and right. It's going to give you kind of a wide sound, wide spread. It's going to be super wide because sound sources are just different. Right. Of course, I'm doing by some amount. You can even go a small amount and it's still going to give you that, wide effect. Now you can go crazy all the way up, and of course you are going to be offsetting by a lot. Now if you're asking yourself, can we do this on the other mode? Well, not really, but there's kind of a way. If I go to time mode, notice that this one is grayed out. You cannot do it right here, but what you can do is unlink this and just trying to get it close and just do it manually, and you're still going to be getting this difference, this offsetting on the times. But by default, this is grayed out. But notice that we still get it right here. It's just still saying 33%. And it's because if you want to go back right here, you don't lose it, right? So if I'm, that would be uncool to, to change different modes and lose what we have right here. But, you still keep it. Okay, so I'm back to a default kind of a patch. It's what you get when you throw this on the channel. And we need to talk about the feedback and the freeze. So if you're new to delays, the feedback is going to be the amount of repetitions that you're going to be getting. So if I go all the way down and I play something, we're just going to be getting one repetition of the synth. I play one key and we just get one single repetition. As you go up on the feedback, you're going to be starting to get more repetitions. This is something very simple. That's the way it works. Now, as soon as you go up on the feedback, you're going to be starting to get a lot more. And at some point, you're going to be starting to get this kind of a feedback loop that never ends. Now, on this on this delay, the feedback is super controlled, which is something actually cool. It's not bad. On some other delays, which are emulations of maybe tape or something else, whenever you go to feedback, it's going to be very uncontrolled, and the gain, the volume is going to go crazy. On this one, it doesn't matter. If I just doing that, the gain doesn't go crazy. Notice that it's just very controlled, which is something cool. It's not bad. But you cannot expect, the feedback to go crazy on this one. It's something that you just don't get with this delay. You maybe get it with other delays that maybe I'm going to be covering on different videos. But on this one, you cannot go crazy on the feedback. But you do get a freeze. So, for example, if I play something, we are going to be getting... And I'm going to kind of go right here and offset it so we can get a kind of a spread. So if I play something, this one is going to freeze whatever the repetitions are doing. And it's going to get stuck right there. It's going to be repeating always the same thing. That's why you get the infinite kind of a, symbol. It's freezing. So if I play something and I just click this, whenever we hear the repetitions, it's going to just repeat over and over whatever was going through on the feedback loop. Now, once you unclick it, it's just going to die. Or, whatever it is that you're doing. So if I do something like this and just freeze it, we are going to be getting that. Now, whenever you do this, the feedback gets disabled because the delay is not able to process any more sound. It's just being busy doing this. So this means if I play the synthesizer, we are not going to be getting repetitions. It's just too busy doing the freeze. And this is something, normal. So you might be getting some sound right here on the background while you're doing the freeze, and then just play on the top. Right? And you can use this as kind of effects. Right, so that's going to be the freeze. So back to a default setting on the delay, very default. So you get the filter section. So this one is a band pass. So this means that you can cut the lows and you can cut the highs. And maybe you're wondering, again, maybe you're new, you're just learning. So I'm just gonna, give you a bit more information. So whenever you use delays, especially when you use a digital delay, the repetitions are pretty much the same as the original sound source. And this is something that we kind of get with this delay. The repetitions are pretty much the same. So sometimes when you're just playing, the repetitions are just going to be in the way, right? So we just cannot separate the original sound that I'm playing from the synthesizer from the repetitions. So sometimes it's a good idea to filter or to process the repetitions, not the original sound, to get something that fits a bit more, or fits a bit better to whatever it is that you want to do. So that's why you get a filter. This is going to be filtering whatever sound the delay is going to generate. And it filters the repetitions. It doesn't filter whatever sound that you are generating right here. So if I play something and I go right here all the way down, notice that the repetitions are just way different. If I go up on the feedback, notice it sounds very different. So right now, well, let's say I'm going to be doing something like that. So the repetitions are going to be a little bit dark. So when I play something, we can really hear what I'm playing because the repetitions are a little bit darker and are not in the way. That's why we get a filter, to kind of cut whatever frequencies we don't want from the repetitions. Now, of course, you can go bright, or you can even go on the dry and the wet all the way up, and you're just going to be listening to whatever the delay is doing. We cannot hear whatever I am doing on the analog, on the synthesizer. So you can just, keep playing and decide how you want the repetitions to be filtered. So maybe I want something like that. Maybe that is cool for you. So I'm going to be going down to the dry and the wet. And now the repetitions, of course, are going to be, going to sound a little bit different. Now, if you're wondering what are these values, well, these values, the filter is going to be where you're going to be putting this yellow dot. When I move it around, it's just going to be moving or changing the frequencies. And the width is going to be how wide it's going to be or how narrow it's going to be. Now, if you don't want the filter, you can just turn it off. And this is going to be, the button. Now it's off. So when I play it, notice that the repetitions are pretty much the same. And it's because, at some point by default, this is doing some cutting right here and some cutting right there. If you don't want it, you just can turn it off and have the repetitions do the same thing. Notice that they are just pretty much the same to the original sound source. So this is a way you get to separate the repetitions from the original sound. The first way, of course, is by unshifting or doing a little bit of offsetting. We offset the time, and I'm going to go to 1/4. And then you can just do a little bit of filtering just to make it darker and just to get something that fits a little bit better to, but for whatever it is that you're doing. So that is the first way, offsetting. Then you're going to be doing some filtering to separate the repetitions from the original one. And the next kind of a way of separating the repetitions from the original one is by doing modulation. So the modulation, and I'm going to go back to default right here. So the modulation, what it will do, it will modulate the paramps. In this case, it's going to modulate whatever we have on the filter, in the case of this, and whatever we have on the times. So first we're going to be, talking about the filter, and I'm going to just talk about this in a minute. So right now we have, let's say 1/4, right? And I'm going to be cutting some of this. So this one is going to be the rate, and this is the speed of how we are going to be modulating the filter. So as I go up, and I'm going to go more to the wet side so we can really hear what's going on right here. Notice that there is some kind of a modulation. We can hear it going wow. So this is the rate, super slow. And we are pretty much doing, we are doing something like this. And I don't even need to do it right here. I can do this manually. Notice that if I do it manually, I kind of get the same thing. Not the same, but it's just something like that. So whenever we do this, we are applying some modulation to the filter. How fast we do it, it's going to be the rate. So I'm doing a lot. 68 is kind of a lot. If I go to 100%, it's just going to be a little bit more obvious. But if you go up on the rate, you're going to be starting to get some, other types of sounds. And if you go faster, you get that. Now maybe you're saying, okay, that's not a good sound. Well, that depends on what you want to do. If I make a blend and I play, it could sound really, really cool. I'm gonna go to something like that. And that sounds actually, sounds cool. And if I offset it just a little bit, it's gonna sound even better. And remember, you notice it sounds cool. And my sound source is a very dull sound. Right? So don't be afraid to use the modulation section. This is just going to give you that tiny extra you need. Okay, so we know what the filter can do. We need to talk about the time. And this is actually very simple and standard on a lot of delays. And it's another way, just to add a little bit of modulation and get that magic. So this is something that will modulate the delay time by small amounts, or you can go really crazy if you go crazy on this control. And this is going to give you that detuned, coarse sound that you get on kind of a vintage gear. Now, this is a very controlled delay, but you can still go to higher values and get some kind of a crazy types of sounds. So again, what this will do is pretty much the same thing than the filter. It's going to modulate the times right here. So I'm going to go to 4 and do a little bit of offset, and we just get that, right? Now, by just going up on the time, maybe about right there, and I play it, notice that we get this detune. We can actually hear the detuning of the repetitions. So if I go to really crazy, this is just going to be a lot more, much more aggressive. And if I go all the way, it's just crazy. So of course you can go faster. And this is just going to give you that crazy sound I was talking about earlier. Now you can go do something like that, maybe do a little bit of that, and just use the filter as well. And you're going to be starting to get into this super cool kind of a type of repetitions. Right? So don't be afraid to use the modulations. They can, they can give you just something really, really cool. But yeah, the filter is going to modulate this, and this one is going to modulate the time. Now, of course, this depends on which mode that you're using. So we need to talk about this section, and this is important for the modulation of the time as well. So again, we'll start with the default kind of a patch that you get. And I'm going to go to time modes, to time. So when I play something, it doesn't matter what we have right here. When I change kind of a live, the timings that we have right here, we get this changing pitch. And this is something that you get on vintage tape delays or analog type of delays, actually. It's going to get this repitch sound when you change the timings. So this is how it works by default, right? Just how it works. And you can use this, for your advantage, just to create cool sounds. So, by default, the repitch is how this delay works, which is kind of emulating that analog kind of a vibe. But you can use other types if you don't like this. If I go to the fade mode, this one, what it will do instead of repitching is going to crossfade the current time that you have, and when you modulate it to a different, it's going to attempt to do this time, but it's going to crossfade the timings, and it sounds a little bit different. You don't get this repitching. So if I do it and change it, that is not the same. We get kind of a phasey, glitchy kind of a sound. And again, you could use this to your advantage. Maybe I'm going to do something like that. And do something maybe like that. And I can maybe even offset this one. Right. So this is a little bit phasey, it's a little bit kind of a glitchy. If I go all the way up, you can really hear what this is doing. So this is how the fade works. It's going to try to crossfade the old times with the new times. And that's fine, that's how it works. So then you have the jump. So what the jump is going to do? Well, the jump doesn't care about crossfading anything. So if I go here, and for now, it's going to be kind of a disabling this, go all the way down. So the jump is going to not crossfade. It's just going to attempt to go to whatever new timing you're just kind of changing. And this will lead you to a glitch. Kind of that sound, you get a click. So yeah, that's what you get. It's not just trying to crossfade, it's just attempting to go to that time. So what you get is this glitchy sound. And again, it depends on what you want to do. It might sound cool. Right? So of course you can go back to repitch if you want to. This is kind of the most widely used and normal thing we use, but you can use the other ones, of course, to get a different sound. So if I go back to default, we get the good old ping pong. And I feel like I don't need to explain anything. It's just the ping pong is going to go from left to right. Alright, so that's it. That's pretty much the whole device. It's a pretty simple delay. It can do the normal delay stuff that we want, but using the filter and the modulation section, we just we can get something else out of the device. That's the whole idea. It's a pretty cool device. So hopefully you learned something on this one, and remember to like and subscribe if you like what I do. And if you want to buy me a coffee, you can go to the description. You have links for Patreon, you have the PayPal thing, you have now YouTube thanks. So you have a lot of ways to do it if you want, right? So see you on the next one.